What is going on, guys, and welcome to the first episode of Boundless on YouTube. But before we get started, let me give you guys a quick tour of the world. Now that's quite the way to start off a video, am I right? As you can see, we've done a decent amount of work in the world, which I'll show you guys more in depth in a bit here. But most of the video today will be showing the building of this beauty, the greenhouse. The greenhouse will have most of our automated farms with tileable sections. Right now it's filled with sugarcane used in trading for emeralds. All of the farms are 100% automatic, and all of the drops get collected at the bottom here, so we can be working throughout the rest of our world while the farm is still running. But before we get into the building process, let me catch you guys up on some of the projects we've already completed in the world. The first project, and probably the one I'm most proud of, is the villager trading tree. Here we have a bunch of stalls where we have our villagers that we'll use for trading various things. In order to disperse them, we have a holding cell in the middle of the tree and a minecart with redstone that will route the minecart to each stall if we need it. So here we can send it to the one where you flick the lever. And that just makes moving the villagers a lot easier. Overall, the design is way overkill for what it does, but it looks really cool and it was fun to build. Next up, we have our enchanting tree, which is nothing special. It's basically just an enchanting table with a custom tree built over it, but it looks pretty cool. Over here we just have some of our extra farms, cow farm, little pen, and some of our kind of temporary plant areas, which will eventually be replaced by the greenhouse. Then over here we have our dock and our main house, which our main house is where we're spending most of our time and have our storage and nothing too special, but our beds here, and hopefully we'll be upgrading this in the near future, and it's just something temporary, but it looks good. We also have our bridge and an entrance to the stronghold, which we actually built our base pretty much right on top of where the server's stronghold is. We also have a little slime launcher, which is just an easier way to get up to the rest of our base. And then this kind of adds on to the villager trading tree. So as you saw earlier, the villagers get stored in the middle of the tree, which there aren't any there now, but they actually get carried on this tunnel, which has kind of a water path which carries baby villagers from our villager breeder over there, which just has two villagers in a potato patch, and they breed babies and they basically get funneled to the tunnel. But that's pretty much it for the tour, so let's get started building the greenhouse. A lot of these episodes will look a lot different, most obviously that the main building will take part in this kind of third-person time-lapse feel. So to start off, I cleared a relatively open and flat area and started by building some wooden pillars, filling in some short stone walls. Originally, my plan was to make the building a lot bigger in order to make some bigger farms. However, once I decided to just scale the farms down below the actual house, I figured making the building a bit smaller would make the building look like it fit the scale of the projects that I've already built. With the stone walls, I used a mix of primarily stone and andesite with a bit of cobblestone to make the base look a bit more detailed. Since this build is modeled after a greenhouse, using basically just spruce logs for the walls and roof outline, it allows the rest to be filled in with glass. This makes the build feel super open and will allow us to look into the build and see the farms working whenever we walk by the building. I also added the wooden arches, which use a mix of trapdoors and slabs to make them look as round as possible, along with some plank arches on the side of the main arch so that the roof actually looks supported. Part of this design was based around a greenhouse built by another Minecraft YouTuber, so I'll make sure to include that link in the description if you want to check that out. For the actual farm pads, the plan was to put 2 pads on each level with a walkway in between them. The pads ended up being 11 blocks by 7, which I was worried would be too small, but ended up being about the perfect size. Plus, since we can just add a ton of levels below, the main priority was to make the farm look nice in the building. While I fill in some of the arches, the floor, and some of the glass, let's talk about these episodes. So you've already seen how the format is a bit different, but one of the big differences is that each episode will be based around a certain project, which will be started and finished in one episode. This might mean that the episodes may be longer than normal, but I think it'll be cool for you guys because projects will actually get completed, and it makes it a lot easier to follow along. The main reason for the change in format and style comes down to the way I record them. This format makes it a lot easier for me to record since I can do it over multiple days or even while I'm streaming on Twitch. Then I can take all the content and super easily turn it into a comprehensive video with a reasonable amount of editing time. This means it'll be a lot easier for me to actually keep up with uploading videos. So hopefully you guys enjoy the change of style and the extra videos, and let's get back to building. For the actual auto sugarcane farm, the core design was pretty straightforward. Pretty much every farm design uses an observer to detect when the sugarcane grows to a certain height, and then uses pistons to break off any extra grown sugarcane. However, some of the specific parts of the design, mainly the item collection, caused some problems. Originally my plan was to use one observer for every sugarcane block, meaning any time a plant grew to a height of 3, it would be broken. However, since I'm still pretty early game, we didn't quite have the resources for that, so I just settled on having one observer per section of 11 sugarcane. This gives up some efficiency in the design, but since the farm will still be running all the time, and we have a ton of farm segments, I figured it'd be fine. I also originally planned to use a hopper minecart running underneath the farm to pick up all the drops, but this would have added an extra 3 blocks of height to each section of the farm, and since we're planning on stacking a bunch of sections, using a water stream which would add no extra height allowed the most condensed stacking of segments. The only real downside is that sometimes when the sugarcane pops off, it doesn't land in the water stream and eventually despawns. I basically just decided that by building more farm per area, it would make up for any lost drops. Plus, it looks a lot better too. I ended up building 4 layers, which meant a total of 176 sugarcane growing blocks. It's pretty efficient, and now that it's built, it'll continue to work forever. Most of the sugarcane is going to be used for paper trades with villagers, which will allow us to trade for emeralds, and then trade those emeralds for other various things we need in the world. And although I could add a ton more layers, I think the next couple of layers I add will farm other plants, most likely melons and pumpkins, which can also be traded for emeralds and are probably a bit more efficient trading wise. For food, I'm mostly buying golden carrots from villagers, so ironically we don't actually need to use the greenhouse to grow our food source. After finishing the actual farm, it was time to put some final detailing on the build. Started by adding 2 gardens out front with some leaves and some flowers, and then added the path to the entrance of the building along with some light poles. I also did a bit of extra detailing inside the greenhouse, adding some potted plants and making the floors look a little bit nicer. couple hours later and the greenhouse is pretty much completed. Now that it's done, I'll give you guys a couple minutes or so of some sweet glam footage of the farm in action. Just like that, the greenhouse project is completed. I really hope you guys enjoyed the build on this episode and the new style. One of the next projects I've already started is a mini castle that will likely hold a lot of our storage so we can upgrade from the small house that we have now. Let me know if you guys have any feedback below or if you have any ideas for projects you'd like to see on later episodes, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.